Hi there, welcome back. I'm Emily, and today we're diving into a topic so many learners dream about. You've probably asked yourself, how can I sound more natural when I speak English? How can I speak with the flow and rhythm that native speakers use every day? It's not about big words, complex grammar, or sounding like a textbook. It's about confidence, connection, and making your English feel alive. Today, I'll share tips that are simple, practical, and fun to practice. You'll learn what really makes speech sound natural and how to get there step by step. Think of this as a friendly conversation, not a strict lesson. We'll explore habits, phrases, and techniques that can transform your English. So grab your headphones, relax, and let's begin this journey together. So let's begin with a big question. What does it really mean to speak like a native speaker? Many learners imagine perfect grammar, long words, and sounding like a dictionary. But here's the truth. Even native speakers make small mistakes every single day. They forget words, repeat themselves, or say things that are not grammatically perfect. So speaking like a native is not about perfection. It's about being natural and comfortable. Think about the way you speak your own language. Do you always follow grammar rules? Of course not. You pause, you say or and you still sound natural. The same is true for English. Natives speak with rhythm, tone, and everyday expressions. One big part of sounding natural is rhythm. English is not flat or robotic. It rises and falls, just like music. This flow makes conversation feel alive. When you copy this rhythm, people understand you more easily, and you sound smoother. Another element is connected speech. Natives often join words together. Instead of saying, "What are you doing?" very clearly they say, "What you doing?" At first, this can be confusing because it's not the English you read in textbooks. But once you get used to it, you'll notice it's everywhere in real conversations. Then, there are contractions. Native speakers rarely say, "I am." We almost always say, "I'm." We don't say "do not." We say "don't." These shortcuts make your English faster, easier, and more natural. If you avoid contractions, your English might sound too stiff or formal. Idioms and common phrases are another key. Imagine hearing, "It's raining cats and dogs." If you translate word by word, it makes no sense. But natives use expressions like this often. Now, you don't need hundreds of idioms. Even a few simple phrases can make you sound natural. Phrases like "sounds good," "no way," or "that's awesome" add color to your speech. Speaking like a native is also about comfort. Natives don't focus on each tiny rule. They focus on the message, the connection, and the flow of conversation. When you let go of the fear of mistakes, your speech becomes more natural. Let me give you an example. Imagine two learners. The first learner uses perfect grammar, but speaks slowly and carefully. The second learner makes small mistakes, but speaks with rhythm, contractions, and easy phrases. Which one sounds more like a native? Almost always the second learner. So the key takeaway is this. Speaking like a native doesn't mean perfect English. It means using rhythm, contractions, connected speech, and everyday expressions. It means being confident enough to speak without fear, even if you make mistakes. If you think about it, communication is more powerful than perfection. When you speak naturally, people enjoy listening to you. They understand you faster, and they feel more connected to you. That's the real goal. Not to sound like a textbook, but to sound like a real person. So, in short, speaking like a native is about rhythm, tone, and connection. It's about sounding alive, not perfect. And the great news is, you can learn these skills step by step with practice. Stay with me, and I'll show you exactly how to build them into your English every day. Now let's talk about the challenges, because every learner faces them. If you've ever felt stuck, you're not alone. These struggles are normal, and you can overcome them. The first challenge is thinking in your native language. Many learners build sentences in their own language, then translate into English. This takes time, slows you down, and makes your speech sound less natural. English has its own word order, its own way of shaping ideas. So when you translate, it often feels awkward, almost like broken pieces put together. The second challenge is fear of mistakes. So many learners hold back because they don't want to sound silly. They think, what if I use the wrong word? What if my grammar is wrong? But here's the truth. Even native speakers make mistakes all the time. They say things like, or restart a sentence halfway. What matters is not being perfect, but being brave enough to keep talking. The third challenge is connected speech. Textbooks teach you to separate every word clearly. But in real life, native speakers blend words together like music. Instead of did you eat, they say do you eat or even jeet. At first, this sounds impossible to follow, and learners feel lost. But this is just how natural conversation flows. Learning to hear and copy it takes practice. The fourth challenge is focusing too much on grammar. Grammar feels safe. It's full of rules, clear and structured. But in real conversations, people don't speak in perfect grammar. They use fragments, shortcuts, and casual phrases all the time. If you chase perfect grammar in every sentence, you sound robotic and stiff. Remember, communication is about meaning, not rules. Let me give you a little story. When I first studied Spanish, I was obsessed with grammar books. I memorized tenses, conjugations, and every detail I could. But when I tried to speak, I froze. I was too busy building rules in my head. And the result? I spoke very little, very slowly, and not very naturally. It was only when I stopped worrying and started practicing that I improved. Maybe you felt the same way with English. Maybe you prepared a sentence perfectly, but by the time you said it, the moment passed. That's what happens when grammar takes over communication. It blocks your flow and you lose the chance to connect. Another challenge is confidence. Speaking a foreign language feels like stepping onto a stage. Everyone is listening, and you feel pressure to perform. But actually, most people don't judge you at all. In fact, many admire you for trying, because learning a language is not easy. When you shift your focus from mistakes to connection, your confidence grows. So let's summarize the main challenges again. Number 1, thinking in your native language and translating. Number 2, being afraid of mistakes and losing confidence. Number 3, struggling with connected speech and real conversation flow. Number 4, focusing too much on grammar instead of communication. If any of these feel familiar, don't worry. Every learner faces them, and every learner can move past them. The key is not to avoid mistakes or force perfection. The key is to practice daily, accept mistakes, and focus on rhythm and flow. Once you see these challenges clearly, they lose their power. They stop being walls in front of you and become steps to climb instead. And the good news is, in the next part, we'll explore the skills that help you break through. Step by step, you'll move closer to sounding natural, confident, and fluent in English. Now that we've talked about the challenges, let's move to the skills that really make a difference. Because once you know what to focus on, speaking becomes easier, more fun, and more natural. The first skill is listening to real English. Not just classroom English, but the kind you hear in movies, podcasts, and daily conversations. When you listen often, your brain starts to copy the rhythm and patterns automatically. It's like music. The more you listen, the more you feel the beat without thinking. So, make listening part of your daily routine. Even 10 minutes a day can help. The second skill is mastering contractions. Native speakers almost never say I am or do not. They say I'm or don't. These small changes make your speech sound natural and casual. Without contractions, your English might sound too formal, like reading a book out loud. So practice saying them until they come out automatically without effort. The third skill is paying attention to intonation and rhythm. English is not flat. It has a melody, a rise and fall that carries meaning. For example, when you ask a question like, really? Your voice goes up. When you make a statement like, I'm tired, your voice goes down. This melody signals emotions and keeps the listener engaged. Copying it makes your speech more lively and natural. The fourth skill is learning and using common phrases. Think of short expressions like, sounds good, no way, or that's awesome. These are the phrases natives use every day to connect, agree, or react. They may look simple, but when you use them, you instantly sound more authentic. Start small, choose 3 or 4 phrases, and use them often until they feel natural. Another key skill is understanding connected speech. We talked about how natives join words together, like what you doing instead of what are you doing. Learning to hear and copy this makes conversations much easier. At first, it feels strange, but with practice, it becomes natural to both understand and use. Let me tell you a little story. When I was learning French, I spent hours repeating single words. But when I listened to real conversations, I noticed people never spoke like that. They connected words, dropped sounds, and spoke with rhythm. The day I started copying the flow instead of just the words, I sounded more fluent. That's when I realized fluency is about rhythm and connection, not just vocabulary. Here's another tip. Practice expressions in chunks, not words. For example, don't just learn how, is, it, and going separately. Learn how's it going as one single phrase. That way, you don't have to build sentences piece by piece when you speak. Chunks flow naturally, and they save your brain time during conversation. So let's review the key skills together. Number 1, listen to real, natural English every day. Number 2, use contractions like I'm, don't, and can't. Number 3, copy the intonation and rhythm that makes English sound musical. Number 4, learn and use short, common expressions regularly. Number 5, practice chunks of language and understand connected speech. Each of these skills builds on the others. When you practice them step by step, they slowly become part of your speaking style. And the more you use them, the more natural your English will sound. So remember, sounding native is not magic. It's not about being perfect or memorizing every grammar rule. It's about practicing the right skills again and again until they feel effortless. And trust me, with patience and practice, you can absolutely master them. Now let's get practical. We've talked about skills, but how do you actually train them? Because knowing is one thing, but practicing is what makes the change real. The first method I want to share is shadowing. This means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say right away. You copy their rhythm, their tone, even their pauses. At first, it feels strange, maybe even funny, but it's powerful. Your mouth learns the movement, your brain learns the flow, and soon it feels natural. Start small. Choose a 1-minute video or a short podcast. Play one sentence, repeat it exactly, then move to the next. Don't worry about understanding every word. Focus on sounding like the speaker. Over time, your pronunciation, rhythm, and speed will all improve. The second method is imitation from movies and shows. Pick a scene you like, maybe a conversation between 2 characters. Listen several times, then pause and repeat each line with the same tone. Actors speak in natural, real English, so this practice gives you a true model. You can even record yourself and compare it with the original. That leads us to the third method, recording your own voice. It might feel uncomfortable to hear yourself, but it's one of the best tools. When you listen back, you notice mistakes you never realized while speaking. Maybe your intonation is flat, or maybe you skip contractions. By listening and adjusting, you teach yourself how to sound more natural. The fourth method is practicing chunks of language. Don't just memorize individual words. Learn phrases as complete packages. For example, instead of thanks and a lot, learn thanks a lot as one unit. Native speakers think in phrases, not words, and this helps you speak faster. It also saves time, because your brain recalls one chunk instead of four separate words. Another method is speaking with real people. It doesn't matter if they're natives or fluent friends. What matters is practicing real conversations with all the surprises they bring. You can use language exchange apps, online communities, or local meetups. The key is to step out of your comfort zone and practice with others. But what if you're shy? Then practice with yourself. Talk out loud during your day. I'm making coffee. I'm walking to the bus. It may sound silly, but it builds fluency and confidence. Every minute you spend speaking English, even to yourself, is valuable practice. Let me give you a personal story. When I learned Spanish, I used to walk around my apartment describing everything I did. I'm opening the door. I'm cooking rice. I'm tired. At first, it felt awkward, but soon it became automatic. And when I finally spoke with natives, I was ready because I had practiced daily. So, let's summarize the best practice methods together. Number 1, shadowing. Repeat directly after native speakers. Number 2, imitation from movies and podcasts, copying rhythm and tone. Number 3, recording and listening to your own voice to self-correct. Number 4, practicing chunks of language, not isolated words. Number 5, speaking with real people, or even to yourself. Each of these methods trains your brain, your ears, and your mouth at the same time. They don't require hours each day. Even 15 minutes can bring results. The key is consistency. Small, regular steps always beat big, rare efforts. So remember, practice doesn't have to be complicated. You just need to pick a method, repeat it daily, and trust the process. Little by little, your English will sound smoother, more natural, and more confident. And the best part? You'll actually enjoy the journey while improving every day. Now let's move on to something fun. Real phrases and slang that make you sound more natural. Because vocabulary isn't just about big words, it's about the little expressions people use every day. Think about greetings. In textbooks, you learn, "How are you?" But in real life, natives say, "How's it going?" or "What's up?" much more often. These short, casual phrases feel friendly and natural. So if you want to blend in, start by using greetings the way natives do. Now, let's look at ways to react when something is good. You might say, "That's good," but natives often say, "That's awesome," or "That's cool." These words are simple, but they carry energy and emotion. They make your response sound lively instead of flat or formal. When you want to agree with someone, you don't always need long sentences. Natives often say totally, for sure, or exactly. These single words sound confident and connected. They show agreement without slowing the conversation down. Slang expressions are another layer. For example, when something is very easy, we say it's a piece of cake. When you're extremely tired, you can say, "I'm beat." Or when you want to wish someone luck, instead of saying "good luck," say "break a leg." These phrases may sound strange at first, but they are common and natural in daily talk. You don't need to memorize hundreds of slang terms. In fact, using too many can sound unnatural. The secret is to learn a few, practice them often, and use them in the right moments. Over time, they become part of your speaking style. Here's a little exercise for you. Choose 3 new expressions like "sounds good," "no way," and "I'm beat." Use them at least once in your daily conversation. If you don't have anyone to talk to, say them out loud to yourself. This small habit makes these phrases automatic, just like contractions. Let me tell you a story. When I first learned French, I memorized a lot of grammar, but I sounded too formal. Then one day, I heard someone say, "Ça roule," which means "it's going great." I tried using it, and suddenly people responded with more warmth. That one phrase made me sound less like a student and more like a friend. English works the same way. Short, natural expressions change how people hear you. Remember, language is not just about rules. It's about connection, tone, and culture. When you use real expressions, you're not just speaking English. You're joining the conversation style. You show that you understand not only the words, but also the way people really talk. Let's review some examples together. Greetings. How's it going? What's up? Positive reactions. That's awesome. Sounds good. Agreement. Totally. For sure. Exactly. Slang. Piece of cake. I'm beat. Break a leg. These phrases are your toolkit. You don't need many tools, just the right ones. And each time you use them, you sound closer to a native speaker. Step by step, these simple expressions transform your speaking style. So, the key idea here is this: focus on small, natural phrases. They are easy to learn, easy to use, and powerful in real conversations. Start with a few, practice them daily, and they will become part of who you are in English. And remember, sounding natural is not about using big words, but about speaking the way people really do. Now, I want to get personal with you, because language learning is not only about skills, it's about stories. We all have our own journey, full of mistakes, surprises, and small victories. When I started learning Spanish, I was afraid to speak. I thought I needed perfect grammar before opening my mouth. So I studied books, memorized rules, and waited for the right time. But here's the truth: the right time never came. I stayed silent, and my progress was slow. One day, I decided to change. I told myself, just speak, even if it's wrong. The first conversations were messy. I mixed words, I froze, I stumbled. But something amazing happened. People still understood me. They smiled, encouraged me, and helped me find the right words. That's when I learned that mistakes are not failures. They are teachers. Later, when I studied French, I repeated the same mistake. I hid behind grammar and avoided speaking. And again, I felt stuck. My sentences were correct on paper, but my voice was silent. Finally, I remembered my Spanish experience. The only way forward was to speak. So I pushed myself, and slowly, fluency started to grow. Maybe you've had the same experience with English. Maybe you prepared a perfect sentence in your head, but by the time you said it, the moment was gone. Or maybe you stayed quiet in class, afraid of saying something wrong. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Almost every learner goes through it. Here's what helped me: watching shows and copying the actors. I'd pause the video, repeat the line, and try to sound exactly like them. At first, I sounded mechanical, but little by little, I caught the rhythm. Later, I practiced with music. I listened to songs, repeated the lyrics, and felt the flow. This made my speaking smoother because I was training with real living language. Another powerful lesson I learned was that native speakers are kinder than we think. I used to believe they would judge me, but in reality, they were impressed that I tried. They didn't care about my small mistakes. They cared about connection. And often, they slowed down, explained things, and made me feel comfortable. This taught me something important. Fear lives in our minds, not in other people's eyes. The more I spoke, the more I realized no one was expecting perfection. They just wanted to talk, share ideas, and connect. And that's the true purpose of language: communication, not perfection. So, what can you take from my story? First, mistakes are part of learning. They're not a sign of weakness, but proof that you're trying. Second, practice doesn't have to be formal. TV shows, music, and conversations all count. Third, don't be afraid of judgment. Most people admire your effort and want to help. Let me share one last memory. I was speaking Spanish with a local friend, and I made a funny grammar mistake. Instead of laughing at me, he laughed with me, then taught me the right phrase. That moment turned my fear into joy. I realized mistakes could even make learning fun. So, as you listen to me now, I want you to remember this: your journey will not be perfect, and that's okay. Every mistake, every awkward pause is a step forward. Fluency is not built in silence, it's built in courage. The more you speak, the more natural you will become. So take my story as encouragement. If I could move past fear, so can you. Your mistakes are your teachers, your practice is your path, and confidence is your reward. Keep speaking, keep learning, and you'll discover your own story of success. Now it's time for something practical, something you can try today. Because listening is good, but action is what changes your English. So here's your challenge. Shadow a short clip for just 10 minutes. Pick a video, a podcast, or even a movie scene that's 1 minute long. Play it, listen carefully, and then repeat exactly what the speaker says. Copy their speed, copy their tone, copy their rhythm. Don't worry if you miss a word. Focus on sounding like them. Why does this work? Because your brain learns best by imitation. Think about how children learn. They don't study grammar first. They copy sounds, repeat them, and slowly build patterns. Shadowing is the same idea, but for you as an adult learner, the more you copy, the more natural your own speech becomes. After shadowing, record yourself. Yes, I know it feels strange to hear your own voice, but when you listen back, you hear things you never notice while speaking. Maybe your voice is flat, maybe you skip contractions, or maybe your words sound separate. By listening, you catch these small details and improve them. Now, add another step to the challenge. Choose 3 new expressions from today's lesson. Maybe, what's up, I'm beat, or sounds good. Say them out loud, use them in your own sentences, and practice until they feel natural. This way, you're not just repeating, you're creating. Let me tell you a quick story. One of my students once took this exact challenge. At first, she felt awkward and slow, but after a week, her confidence grew. She told me she started saying sounds good with her friends, and they smiled. That tiny phrase made her feel more connected, more natural, and that small success gave her the courage to keep going. Your practice can be short. 10 minutes a day is enough. It's better to do a little every day than a lot once a week. Language learning is like exercise. You build strength with repetition, and every session leaves you just a bit stronger, a bit smoother. Another tip, don't choose material that's too hard. Pick something you enjoy, like a favorite show or a YouTuber you like. When practice is fun, you'll want to keep doing it. And enjoyment is the secret to consistency. So let's break down the steps again. Step 1, choose a 1-minute clip. Step 2, shadow it for 10 minutes, copying the speaker closely. Step 3, record yourself and notice what you can improve. Step 4, practice 3 new expressions in your own sentences. That's it. Simple, clear, and effective. Think of this challenge as training your ears, your brain, and your mouth at the same time. Your ears learn the rhythm, your brain learns the flow, and your mouth learns the movement. And together, they build the habit of sounding natural. Remember, progress is not about big leaps. It's about small steps. Each day you practice, you're closer to your goal. Even if it feels slow, you're still moving forward. And the truth is, those small daily steps create the biggest results. So I invite you to try this today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Set aside 10 minutes, pick your clip, and shadow it. Then record yourself, smile at the progress you're making, and keep going. This is how fluency is built. One small practice, repeated over time. Your English doesn't need to be perfect to be powerful. It just needs to be practiced, daily, with courage and curiosity. And this challenge is your first step. So, are you ready to start? Let's do it together, one sentence at a time. We've reached the end of today's episode, and I hope you're leaving with fresh motivation. Remember, sounding natural is not about perfect grammar or big words. It's about rhythm, connection, and the courage to speak, even with mistakes. Every small step you take builds your confidence and brings you closer to fluency. Think of practice as a daily habit, not a heavy task. even 10 minutes. A day can change the way you sound. And don't forget, mistakes are not failures, they're stepping stones. They show you're learning, they guide you forward, and they make you stronger. So keep going, keep speaking, and enjoy the process. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. And every time you open your mouth in English, you're already on the road. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Stay confident, stay curious,